Alright, so hey guys, it's Steve. So today we're going to be taking a look at what needs to be done for changing out your transmission fluid inside the ZF 8 HP in the Jeep Grand Cherokee. This is a 2014, and you can see down here I've got a new pan, because the filter is built into the pan, so the whole thing needs to get swapped out. And I've got new fluid. I only have 8 of these. Turns out that you need 9.5 quarts. I only have 8. Well, I misread things when I had put the order in for the oil to begin with, so we'll just figure that out as we go. But this one, this filter, it's pretty sweet. Came with all new hardware, even a new fill plug. See there. I had to run out and I needed to get a T40. That's what these bolts are. And there's a whole bunch of, I think there's 13. And over here, this is a printout of the service portion of this whole thing. And of course I didn't look at this until after I had ordered everything. So right down here it says 9.5 quarts of transmission fluid. So we'll just have to figure that out. I'm gonna work on getting everything filled and topped off with what I have. If it turns out that I'm good, then I'm good. Otherwise, then I can just take a quick trip to the store. I've got access to another car. Anyways, this is the bolt fastening procedure. You don't want to just start and just work your way around, because then it's going to be all skewed and twisted. Could end up cracking the pan. So they say you start here and then you work across in a star pattern. It's very similar to how you would fasten the lug nuts on your wheel. Start on one side, go to the opposite corner, and then just work your way around. So that's pretty handy. So basically what you need to do is lift up the vehicle. You're gonna have to drain it, and then you can remove the pan and then just put a new pan on. And we'll go through that as we I will take you on that journey of clean transmissions. Okay. Anyways, so the fill procedure is going to be very similar to that of your filling a differential, if you've ever done that. If you haven't done that, you're going to have a drain plug and a fill plug, and I'll show you as we get under there, because there's no dipstick in this. You have to be under the car to fill it. If you've seen people how to fill differentials, you have like this little pump. So think of like a lotion pump, or like a shampoo pump or something like that. And it has a hose that goes from the bottle, and you just press that and it just pumps it right in. Well, it pumps like 1/4 ounce every time. We're talking, there's 32 ounces in just one of these containers, and there's 8. So how long is that going to take you to go like this and pump it with your hand? It's going to take forever. So I devised a pretty cool trick. And that is, sorry for the handy camera, the shaky camera work, is to use a multi-sprayer from Home Depot. Why do you ask? Well, let's take a look. Of course, I don't have a knife on me. I have everything else, but I don't have a knife on me right now. Now, I've done this before with the differential, but basically you've got your filler jug. This thing compresses it, and then you've got your filler wand, which when you take a look at it, you got your filler wand right here. This just unthreads. Pull this out, because you don't need this stuff. It's only just going to get in the way, because this thing, it's from out of the box, it's made for spraying chemicals and whatever onto your lawn, or even, I mean, I suppose you could probably water some delicate plants or something, but really this can be used for filling up your fluid. You just you fill up the container with your fluid, you pressurize it by pumping it, and then you're underneath, you've got your button there to send it on flowing, and without these things here, it just comes right out. So that's a pretty sweet little thing that I came up with for filling up my diff, because I had blown up my rear diff and I had to replace that whole thing, and I didn't want to be bothered with hand pumping 2 quarts of gear oil, because let's be honest, if you've never done that before, gear oil is the worst smelling oil on the planet. It's like, I would rather smell rotten eggs and farts than smell gear oil. But anyways, when you're a DIY guy, that's kind of the territory and crap that you have to deal with. Alright, so my place over here is a little sloppy, a little bit messy. I had to cut up these boards right here so that I can put them on the underside of my jack stands. I am working in the driveway, and if you put any weight on your jack stands on pavement, the problem with that is that all the weight from the vehicle is pushing down on just these corners right here. So you got these jack stands, all that weight pressing down, they're going to end up leaving marks in your pavement. So you're better off to have it press into the wood, and then you won't damage your driveway. I would otherwise be doing this in my garage, but as you can see, it's currently being used as temporary storage. So I don't really have my typical working space, and I've got these columns that I got to worry about. But at any rate, we're gonna get this thing lifted up into the air and start to get to work. Alright, that was a pain in the ass, I'm gonna be honest. There's really no great jacking spots, and you need to have the wheels completely up off the ground. The transmission is gonna be located right under this tray, so this tray needs to come off. A couple bolts, gotta double check to see what size once I get under there, but looks like a 12 or 13. Probably another one up over the front, and then the transmission tray is right over there. So we'll get started on that. Alright, so let's talk about tools. What you're going to need is, you're going to need an 8mm hex. This is to undo the drain plug. You'll see that on the underside once we get underneath. Oh, I'm sorry. So you're going to need an 8mm for the drain plug. So this is an 8mm. That's for the drain plug. And then this one here, this is a 10. So the infamous 10, although it's not a socket, still a 10mm. These things like to go missing on a lot of people. Thankfully, I myself have been pretty lucky that I haven't lost any. You're going to need T40. These aren't very common in your toolbox. I needed to go run out and get one on my own. So T40, and that is for all of the bolts that go along the transmission. Other things that you're going to need, I'm going to use my impact driver, and I've got 13. 13mm. That's to undo the plastic tray. So let's go on underneath and take a look. Okay, so what we're looking at on the underside is the tray that we need to remove. So this whole thing needs to come off. Right here, we got one bolt. Got another bolt. Roll up front. Got a bolt here. And then you got another one right here. And that's it. This whole thing will come down. Okay, so I've encountered a little bit of an issue. That is the back of the transmission got the bolts right here, but as you can see, if I go straight up and down, conveniently those are blocked by this cross member. But I just sprayed some PB Blaster on this stuff right here. I have hopes that maybe, just maybe, this is the underside of the transmission mount. That loosening that, I might be able to lift it a little bit more. You can see right here, I'm just lifting up pushing up the transfer case with the jack. That maybe I can get a little bit more room there. I'm also hoping that same thing applies up here, because we got another cross member, but this one is a little bit more hardy than the one in the back, because this one has the front lower control mounts connected to it. So I have hopes that maybe if I can lift up the transmission a little bit, you know, some more room. There's no way to access it from the other side of this cross member, just because there's some kind of lines, and you can see there's some other stuff that's just in the way. So I have hopes that maybe we can get to those once we lift it up a little bit, but let me give it a shot. So I noticed while doing that, because I already had pressure on the jack, that loosening it, the transmission lifted a little bit on its own. So that might have been my luck, because now I have a little bit more room. Still not great room, but I could put an extension on that with an angle. This one might still be a little tricky, maybe. Could probably make that work. Now, I think this side up here, the front, is still going to be a little tricky, but I'll give that a shot. I think I might want to see if I can lift the transmission just a little bit more. Alright, so I finally got this lifted up enough that I can reach my bolts, and the pain in the ass way of doing it was I needed to use a second jack along with this one, use a block of wood precariously into that jack. And this one, I'm just using one of those hockey puck type, they call it like a pinch weld, a hockey puck type thing, where it's hard rubber and it has a slot so you can lift up on the pinch weld. Anyways, using that to lift up the back end, this one to lift up the front end of the transmission, and that will give me enough room that I can at least crack the bolts with my wrench, and then I can get my hand in there and loosen them by hand. Anyways, now we're at a part where we can start doing some work. After all, this is what we've been waiting for the whole time. So I'm going to just at least check to see the level of which the transmission fluid is at right now. Of course, I need to use the correct size. Like a gorilla from the factory must have tightened this. That's pretty tight. Actually wondering, it's probably spilling out because it might be leaning too far backwards. I don't know where my bolt went. My socket. What a mess. Alright, while that's draining, let me see if I can find where the fill plug in my 8mm went. Alright, so I got it all drained. I found the drain plug and my 8mm. It did end up going into the drink. So, what I'm going to do now is start working on getting rid of, undoing all the bolts. So I know that it calls for a specific order. Calls for a specific order in which the bolts need to be tightened. Typically, like if you're undoing something that has a specific torque spec, like say for example if you're going to be undoing your head for like a head gasket, or for any type of head maintenance, you need to undo the bolts in the reverse order in which it says to tighten, just so that you don't warp the head. Same thing should apply to this, although I have a brand new pan, so it shouldn't matter. Just undo them in any order. So that's what I'm going to do. See up there? I don't think you really wanted to see my dumb head. This is the real pain of doing this all yourself, DIY. I'm sure this probably has a dealer's specialty tool. You can do this. Just a little frustrating, that's all. There we go. That's it. That's the one. Oh, giving me hell. Alright, so I just dropped the pan, as you see, and looks like I have a lot of crap on my lens. Anyways, so I guess that's what the underside of a ZF 8HP looks like.